Tonight we check in with the poor man's Greg Gutfeld, George Clooney. Remember, he wrote a scathing op-ed prior to the election calling on Joe Biden to drop out? And this week he took to CNN, the only place he's seen less than in his own movies, to gloat. God, I hope Jake Tapper doesn't plant his lips firmly on George's puckered ass.
George, are the Hollywood roles getting a little hard to come by as you age and get decidedly more smug and self-congratulatory? I'm just asking. And chooses to finish this show by lecturing the audience on how journalism ought to be done. Speaking as Edward R. Murrow, he warns about the ongoing struggle for truth and integrity in the media. Truth and integrity. About the potential for the media to be manipulated and used for propaganda.
A particular image instantly comes to mind when you hear the name George Clooney. It's the kind of classic leading man polish, real acting talent, and seamless mid-century cool that few actors can truly pull off. Over the course of several decades, he has been regarded as the exceptional character who never seems to make a mistake, effortlessly transitioning between high-end dramas and popcorn franchises while keeping that distinctive smile and a coffee cup close at hand. The epitome of an enduring cinematic icon.
It was a civic duty when I saw people on my side of the street not telling the truth. I thought that was time to...
Are people still mad at you for that?
Some people, sure.
Wow, if that's Clooney with makeup. Imagine what he looks like without it, huh?
However, it is unclear what happens when a performer of his caliber decides that movies are no longer enough to satisfy him. What happens when he enters the tumultuous waters of Washington politics with a piece of writing designed to shake the establishment? He publicly asked President Biden to drop out of the race in an opinion piece, which many saw as an audition of sorts, an attempt to be seen as a political heavyweight rather than just a well-known face. He probably thought the action was brave and morally righteous, but the response he received was far worse than he had expected.
She and George get together and they start navel-gazing on stage about themselves, of course, and their vaunted profession and how bad, how just terrible the media is, and had the following exchange.
What we do in this is we talk about the responsibility of journalists to hold truth to power, right? That's our goal. Mm-hmm. And so if you're doing that, and we don't tell people what to think when we show that montage at the end.
Clooney tried to portray his controversial piece as something like too hesitant bravery while sitting down on CNN, a network he's apparently been visiting more regularly than his own film premieres these days. Speaking of an honest background, he implied that a strong sense of duty to the nation forced him to confront hard facts about the current government. He even brought up Edward R. Murrow's legacy, raising concerns about the ongoing fight to protect integrity and journalistic integrity.
Remember, Clooney's the same guy who held a star-studded fundraiser for Joe weeks before he dropped out and only called for him to quit after his disastrous debate. Clooney ignored concerns over Biden's age for years, only to magically come to the conclusion that he was demented when America finally saw what Clooney had been hiding. That's the problem with Dems. They're obedient shills for awful people, then pretend otherwise once voters see that they're full of. But remember, we were pointing out Joe's dementia before it was cool. We knew Biden was the worst president ever, which probably means Jimmy Carter died a happy man.
With rehearsed charm and gravitas, the entire appearance had the polish of a monologue during awards season. However, since the remarks came from a man speaking with great wealth and insulation, they started to seem more like a sermon from someone who had lost touch with the pews than like brave candor. There were conflicting reactions at first in the media and on social media, but as viewers questioned his Marble Towers perspective, a general wave of skepticism quickly gained over. Visible cracks began to appear in the polished facade he had spent years building.
Nuggets are breaking. Tara Palmieri, who's got her own Substack and podcast now, she's been on the show, she got a copy and released a couple of the nuggets, and so did The Guardian. But hers was a really interesting nugget. And she's apparently in this book, they reveal that George Clooney saw Morning Joe one day, right after his op-ed, and Mika Brzezinski was suggesting that Barack Obama was behind the George Clooney op-ed. That was basically making Clooney seem like Obama's puppet.
Here comes pundit Greg Gutfeld, whose patience with political statements made by celebrities is about equal to that of a demolition squad using a cardboard lean-to. The episode changed from political discussion to blatant comical demolition after he focused on Clooney's attempt at op-ed activity. He mockingly said that Clooney might be the budget bin Greg Gutfeld, a zinger that set the tone for everything that followed. He wasn't satisfied with just disagreeing.
I bet there's one person in particular he thinks is spectacular.
There's one person in particular I think is spectacular. There are a few who I think is levitating above that is Wes Moore. I like him a lot. I think he could be someone we could all join in behind. We have to find somebody rather soon. It's our job now to put together a proper team to stand up because we're right now polling very poorly.
I love that. Levitating above, as opposed to sinking to the bottom, like his last movie.
Going straight for the jugular, Gutfeld dubbed it the Malibu Messiah Syndrome, the strange condition where celebrities receive so much praise that they begin mistaking it for wisdom. He mocked George Clooney as hopelessly out of touch, saying his understanding of Heartland America felt like a TripAdvisor review written by someone who never left Rodeo Drive. In Gutfeld's view, Clooney's political takes were empty calories dressed up as policy, wrapped in self-importance and Hollywood polish. The criticism struck a nerve because it reflected a broader exhaustion with celebrity lectures from luxury estates.
Is going on, this is to 60 last night, about, you mentioned his op-ed in the New York Times on Joe Biden, and why he did it. Such a selfless, brave act, Ben. Here he was.
I was raised to tell the truth. I had seen the president up close for this fundraiser, and I was surprised. And so I feel as if there was a lot of profiles in cowardice in my party through all of that.
Oh, wow.
And I was not proud of that. And I also believed I had to tell the truth.
That fundraiser where he saw Biden almost falling off the stage, where Obama came out to grab him, was June 15th. The debate was June 27th. It wasn't until July 10th, almost a month after he attended the fundraiser with him, that George Clooney finally wrote that op-ed after it became clear that Joe Biden wasn't stepping down. He's such a liar.
While Gutfeld came in swinging with sarcasm and ridicule, Megyn Kelly approached the issue like a prosecutor. Her critique was calm, sharp, and methodical. She dismantled what she described as elite signaling, celebrities presenting themselves as champions of ordinary people while living behind security gates and flying on private jets. Kelly argued that fame, charm, and scripted speeches do not automatically translate into wisdom, morality, or leadership.
But in this new world of common sense, what is he aligned with? He might have way more in common with Trump than he is with the progressives. The question is, does he have the bravery to say that? I have no idea where he stands on the border, sanctuary cities, or trans extremism. How does he feel about the fires in LA? Is he happy with how it was handled by Mayor What's-Her-Face and Governor who's his name?
She also questioned why legacy media outlets treat actors as authorities on major political issues, as though playing a senator on screen somehow grants diplomatic expertise. Then she turned to Clooney's op-ed itself. Clooney framed the piece as a courageous act done for the good of the country, but Kelly suggested the timeline told a less heroic story. His fundraiser for President Joe Biden came first, followed by the disastrous debate that shifted public opinion. Only after political winds changed did the op-ed appear, raising questions about whether Clooney was leading or simply following the crowd.
Julia Roberts, who outed herself not only as a leftist, which we knew, but as somebody who, and by the way, she's also a husband stealer. She stole the husband that she has right now in a reported affair. So, okay, maybe don't be the voice of the ad in which we talk about women betraying their husbands, because in the leftist view, marriages are not about honesty and talking about one's differences and agreeing to disagree on certain dicey issues, but they're about lying. And they believe this so strongly to put it in an ad. And her pal, George Clooney, who did something similar for another ad, same. You got Joe Biden out. How'd it work out for you? How'd that go? Maybe you should have said something a little early.
Speculation intensified when rumors surfaced that former President Barack Obama may have quietly influenced events behind the scenes. Commentators like Mika Brzezinski reportedly fueled theories that Clooney was acting less like an independent voice and more like a messenger for powerful insiders. The Gutfeld-Kelly critique quickly exploded beyond cable television. Clips spread across social media, memes flooded timelines, and many viewers treated the moment as long overdue validation. To critics of Hollywood activism, Clooney became the symbol of what they call limousine progressivism, wealthy celebrities preaching sacrifice and morality while living far removed from ordinary struggles like rent, groceries, and rising bills.
He talks about cowardice. He waited a long time, but he should have the guts to maybe say that his friends in Hollywood, like John Voight or Mel Gibson or Sylvester Stallone, who shared a risk, might have been right on a few things. He's starring in Glengarry Glen Ross. Am I right?
No, it's Good Night and Good Luck.
Oh,
Sorry,
never mind.
my fault.
I was going to say, I mean, they have tremendous respect for David Mamet. David Mamet is one of the most conservative people. So maybe instead of just sitting in silence, you should actually speak up for some of the people who shared the risk in Hollywood.
At its core, the backlash reflected something larger than one celebrity's political misstep. It exposed growing frustration with elite bubbles and the belief that constant praise can disconnect public figures from reality. Gutfeld and Kelly argued that credibility comes from lived experience, humility, and understanding everyday life, not from award shows or red carpets.
Johnny come lately, I was raised to be honest, is a bunch of BS. All right. Obama told him to do it. He sees himself as this extremely important person. I think he's an arrogant, condescending, smug individual who thinks that, he should be able to tell people in America and the Democrat Party, certainly, what they should and shouldn't do. This president, Joe Biden, is one of the most disastrous presidents that we've had in American history.
The controversy also highlighted America's deep political and cultural divide. Supporters defended Clooney's right to speak out, while critics argued celebrities dominate political conversations without earning that influence. In the end, the episode felt like another chapter in the endless media war where spectacle, outrage, and entertainment collide, leaving one lingering question: are audiences still searching for truth, or simply the next viral showdown?